Happy New Year and welcome to Rovers Player. It's a special radio show this afternoon where we're going to round up the best of 2013. I'm Darren Neagle of the Rovers media team. I'm joined today by Chris Donald, Daniel Czepiec and Jordan Owens. It's safe to say that there's never a dull day at Doncaster Rovers, and 2013 has lived exactly up to that. Chris, it's been a bit of a rollercoaster year, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. If you look at it overall for a brief second, we've gone from League One to the Championship. It's up and down all year, especially the first half of the year, not knowing whether we were going to go up or not. It's just so many things have happened this year, and you can't, as you said, there's never a dull day at Doncaster Rovers, and 2013 has been that.
Danny, what do you make of the year?
Mostly made of highs, certainly up until May time. I mean, the pure joy really of what went on, and since then there's, in the Championship it's a bit more difficult, but I still think the victories against certainly QPR at home just show still that Rovers are still managing to fight amongst it, and hopefully we can take that into next April/May. We can hopefully have another bit of success and stay in this league.
What do you make of especially the first half of the year?
Yeah, I think for most of the season that Doncaster have held their own in the Championship. To get to January 2014 without being in the relegation zone this year, I think it's an achievement in itself, and I think every Rovers fan would be happy with that from the start of the year.
Right, so cast your minds back then, January the 1st, 2013, a bumper crowd at the Keep Moat, and we welcomed the Blades. Take a listen to this.
The referee making sure everyone's back. Billy Painter from 12 yards. Scores! Rovers take the lead. The chicken dance is out. Cottrell whips it in. Sayers in the flicker. Rovers have scored. David Sayers, 3 games in a row, doubles the advantage. Rovers in Derby Day dreamland. There's been an argy-bargy between McMahon and Painter in the tackle. Oh, he sent him off. Flicked in by Doyle at the feet of Kitson. He's a bit slow. Will he go under the challenge? Kitson through on goal. Kitson. What a save by Woods. What a save. It falls to Hill. Hill lashed it across. Off the post. Kitson in. You knew it. They've stolen it at the death. Oh, they've equalised at the death. You knew it. Never. Right. Sheffield United off. Because they will do damage to you.
Had to be him. Had to be.
Chris, I'll come to you first. I believe that was your first day alongside Tom Bilcliffe on commentary there. What do you remember of that game?
Well, I remember going from extreme high of being 2-0 up in the second half when Dave Sayers glanced that header into the far post and thinking we're going to win this, and then as always Sheffield United as Tom said in the commentary there, you can never write them off, as they've done plenty of times in the past to us, and I think it was about 92nd, 93rd minute Dave Kitson smashed one into the back of the net, and I've gone from the elation of being 2-0 up to trying to hold back a few feelings on commentary towards certain players.
And it was Dave Kitson that did the damage there at the end as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's got a habit of just grabbing goals against us, and he was part of the Portsmouth team that sent us down the other year when they came to the Keep Moat, and again controversially he scored with the so-called handball on the line. I think he scored against us also for Reading a few years ago as well, so he's definitely that proverbial thorn in the side of Rovers, and he's just proved it again there.
7 days later, then manager of Rovers, Dean Saunders, left the club, decided to join a Championship team at the time, Wolves. What did you make of that, Danny? What was the feeling amongst supporters there?
From my point of view, it was a surprise to see him go, but listening to some supporters' reactions and so on, you didn't gather they were too disappointed by it. I mean, you'd think with the team sitting top of the league, automatic promotion at that point was the real aim, and then your manager leaves and you'd think a lot of people would get worried, but no one seemed to. I think people understood that, even if Saunders left, the side that was there had enough about them to probably carry on, which obviously they ended up doing, but it was a surprise to see such a, I'm not saying they weren't bothered at all, but such a shortened reaction to it, because I expected them to be a bit gutted. I mean, I know he'd come in not had the greatest time in the year they went down, Rovers, but certainly that up to that point they were still the surprise team in the league, really, with the budget they had and the way they were playing.
It's almost like gone to Wolves and left a promotion-winning side, really. Do you think it was just the law of a bigger club?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you got to wonder if it happened now, if he was still in charge and that situation arose again, whether he would, because you just got to look at the way in what's happened for both clubs since then. But as I say, as you've just said, Wolves was the lure, and I suppose he believed he could keep them up and get them back towards being a Premier League club, and maybe he had ambitions to manage in that league himself, and probably just thinking, if Rovers don't go up, when's my chance going to come for that?
Yeah, that's it. He did leave, and that left a vacant manager position at the club. It was Brian Flynn that was appointed manager till the end of the season. He appointed his assistant as well, Captain Rob Jones. What did you make of that, Jordan? Because Rob's always said that after his playing days, he would like to go into the coaching side of the game.
Yeah, I think it was a very good appointment for the club, and I think with Rob being captain, he knew the dressing room, so it helped Brian along the way, and it's probably made him a better player having that experience, and obviously he wants to go into coaching at the end of the career, and that'll stand him in good stead.
So the first game, it was Leyton Orient at home. They both was in charge there. This is where we start a roundup of the first part of 2013.
Jones. Yes! What a corner there! Borswuggen, and there he was again. Corporal Jones, Captain Marvel, assistant manager. 17 minutes of the game gone. Fantastic corner coming in, and there's Rob Jones. 1-0 to Doncaster Rovers, currently top of the table.
Absolute goal machine.
As husband to get the ball in again. It's a great crossing, and it's come out, and there's a chance for Bennett, and it's been battered in. Kyle Bennett wins it for Doncaster Rovers. Kyle Bennett gets a deflection. It goes into the top corner, and Doncaster are allowed to make up for it. Gary Woods is thrilled. Look at him as him and McCoon celebrate. The corner is in back Cotchell, it's more stood up, but it is towards the back post, and McCoon wins his header, and Jamie McCoon gets the goal, and Doncaster Rovers get a 1-goal lead on it, 79 minutes.
Commentary there from Paul Mayfield. Danny was in there as well, and I think it was the Shrewsbury and the Swindon game there as well. The back end of the 2012-2013 season, what did you make of the run in there, Danny?
Up until the point of, I think, when we lost at home to Notts County, and up until that point, you felt with some last-minute goals. We had the one at Shrewsbury there. I think we got one at Bournemouth when they just equalised. The sense was it was going to end in automatic promotion. The momentum seemed to be with Rovers, and the excitement was building up. And I felt it myself. I mean, as I say, when you go in and scoring last-minute goals when you've just conceded. I mean, I remember the one at Bournemouth when Rovers went 1-1, and then Husband went straight down the other end of the field and scored pretty much from kick-off at an almost impossible angle. Moments like that, especially against your rivals as Bournemouth were at that point, make you think we're going up. And then obviously we got to Notts County, and all that sort of feeling seemed to change a little bit.
Well, that's it. It was. I think it was an almost sell-out crowd, Chris, wasn't it, at the Keepmoat for the Notts County game? The champagne was on ice almost, but didn't quite go to plan, did it?
No, and if you're a Doncaster Rovers fan, I think you really expected that. You sort of expected us to lose that game in terms of the fact that we never do things the easy way. If you look at pretty much every promotion, every cup final we've been in the last 10-15 years, we've never gone about things the easy way. If you look at the conference playoff final, 2-0 up and cruising, and then we have to go to extra time and get the golden goal. Same at Cardiff, 2-0 up and cruising, and then we have to win it in extra time. So I think knowing that all we needed to do there was win the game to get promoted, and knowing that Brentford away was the game coming up, I think in around November time, when you realise both teams are going well, both Rovers and Brentford, you sort of got the feeling really early on in the season that was going to come down to that game. And that day I turned up to the Notts County game thinking there was something in the air that just sort of told me that game wasn't going to go great for Rovers, and it was going to leave it to a final day showdown.
A final day showdown it was, yeah. They say the best way to get promoted is through the playoffs, but essentially that's what it set up. Brentford needed the win, we needed a point, it was a playoff final, the winner takes all. A lot of fans went down sort of for the weekend that game, we went down the night before for Brentford as well, didn't we? We
were hoping to enjoy it a little bit more than we did, but we got down there and certainly the drinks price has caught us out a little bit, so we had to behave ourselves a little bit. But no, I mean, everybody enjoyed themselves. I mean, it was a nervous couple of days, certainly the morning of the game. I remember feeling so nervous. I've never felt like that before,
Couldn't
certainly.
stomach breakfast, could we?
No, I think I went for a McDonald's that morning, and I think I ate about 3 chips, but as I say, it was good to see a lot of fans down there, and and you could just sense the excitement, but at the same time, sort of a bit of precaution from them. You know, they'd been there before. I hadn't, but Chris certainly had seen all this before, and Glenn, and I was new to it. So I mean, I remember being quite optimistic, thinking, yeah, they'll do it today. But everybody else seemed to be a bit, no, we're Doncaster Rovers. This sort of thing, this sort of scenario doesn't pan out well. But obviously, I can happily say I was right.
Chris, like you say, we know this kind of feeling. Did you get any flashbacks to the Cheltenham scenario?
Yeah, definitely. I think that morning when I woke up, as Danny alluded to there, I was so nervous, and all I could keep thinking about was the Cheltenham game, where all we needed to do was match Nottingham Forest's result that day, and they didn't. It was one of the worst days I've ever had following Rovers, in terms of just the feeling after the game, thinking, and the long drive back from Cheltenham as well that day was the most upsetting journey back. It was just dark on the motorway, and it was just a dark time really. Such a disappointing day, and that's all I had in my head all day. I was especially sat in the commentary box thinking, this is not going to happen. I remember Bradley Wright Phillips hitting the post quite early on and thinking, yeah, this is not going to be our day.
That's it. So going into the final game of the season, Brentford versus Doncaster Rovers. A point was good enough for Rovers to secure second place. Brentford needed the win to snatch the last automatic spot. Our match day commentator that day was Glenn Wilson. He'll talk you through that dramatic day at Griffin Park.
Gets it down into the box where Donaldson is appeal for a handball there against someone. We couldn't see who. Donaldson tries to wicket in. Dean's there trying to hold it up. Keeps up in the air. High boot and a challenge. As appeals, and it's a penalty. Referee has given a penalty, but a high boot in the Rovers penalty area by McComb. I think it is a penalty to Brentford. 2 minutes of added time to go, if that.
A minute.
Just over a minute of added time, and the referee's pointed to the spot, and that is a penalty to Brentford. Spear is on the floor, dumbfounded by it. Rovers ball was just bouncing around in the box for a long time there as people tried to hook it clear, get a toe under it or something. In the end, someone's put a boot up there. We think it's McComb. He's caught the Brentford man, he's gone down, and the referee Michael Oliver's pointed to the spot for the penalty. By the letter of the law, it's exactly what it is, but it's a harsh one to face because there's all manner of legs and arms and everything bouncing around. Now we'll try and see what happens here. Debate over who's going to take it as Sullivan goes back to his line. Still arguing over who's going to take this. Brentford. O'Connor's coming in to tell Donaldson. Donaldson's sulking and looking to the sideline. Rossler's giving instructions. They're all arguing, but it's Trotter who's lining up to take it, and Sullivan stands on his line. So Trotter puts it down to take it left-footed. Drives up to hit it. Does so. It's off the ball. It's away. He's missed it. He's missed the penalty. It's away. They've cleared it. They can't get it back in the box. They're trying to dribble it forward, and Rovers have cleared their lines. Trotter's penalty is wasted, and now Painter's away. He's crossing halfway. He's got Akers to run into. He's all alone. Tries to Coppinger. Coppinger will slot it home, and he does so. Coppinger's turned it into the empty net. It's promotion to Doncaster Rovers. Can you believe what's happened in this last minute here? A wasted penalty from Trotter. It's off the bar. Rovers have broken clear through Painter, and Copper just turned it away, and it is absolute bedlam to our left here at Brentford. The Rovers players are in amongst the fans at that end. Brentford are on to a man on the floor. Full-time whistle hasn't sounded yet. Full-time whistle has not sounded yet, and everyone is on the floor. Sullivan's on halfway celebrating. There's a flare being let off in the Rovers end, and I still don't think we've had full time.
No, I'm also going to get Chris to check what Bournemouth are doing and see if we may potentially be champions. Doncaster Rovers have gone from the agony of a penalty to ecstasy of, well, promotion, unless Brentford scored two in about 20 seconds.
Having come here on the back foot, Rovers look like they might have actually taken the League One title. And the final whistle goes, and that's it. Doncaster Rovers, in the most dramatic circumstances, have wrapped up promotion to the Championship. The referees run from the field, the police were on. There's no reason for them, the supporters aren't going anywhere, and Rovers are celebrating. Sullivan celebrates towards Chris Donald in the press box. He's disappearing because he's got a job to do down there. He goes on, but Rovers will celebrate, and they'll celebrate loudly at this end.
Yeah, that dramatic day there, that last bit of audio, Brian kindly allowed us into the dressing room to film the players celebrating for a couple of minutes there, and it was a fantastic experience. That scenario then, missing a penalty going up the end 18 seconds later and scoring the promotion-winning goal. It's a scenario we never thought we'd see again. But then Watford, of course, did it in the playoffs a couple of weeks later, didn't they? But anyway, it won us promotion. What were the emotions like for you, Chris? Because I mean, end of the day, we're fans as well as working for the club, aren't we?
It was just unbelievable. You can't describe the feeling of that 30, 40 seconds. The fact that I'd never sunk so low into my seat when he gave the penalty, and it was just one of those, I just felt so flat. And I remember speaking to my friends after who were in the away end that day, and there were just grown men crying, and just everyone was just feeling sick, and it was horrible. But then as soon as they hit the bar, the relief, more than anything, it was more the relief of him missing the penalty than you didn't expect them to go down the other end and score. It was more just they've missed, so now we've got the point we need to get promoted. Yeah. Bournemouth have won the league, fair enough. I don't care, we've got promoted. And then
most fans would have taken that at the time as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden I looked down to my left and Billy Painter's running over halfway. I'm thinking, what? What's happening here? And then all of a sudden Coppinger puts it in, and I just couldn't stay still. I had to get out of my seat. Well, it was the most cramped press box I've ever been in.
Yeah.
It was absolutely packed because I think it was described in one of the national papers as the biggest game in Europe that weekend, which it probably was, and it was absolutely packed full of the national press, local press, everyone was there, and I had to get out and just basically run up and down the stairs.
Danny, the drama and the emotion of it all, it overcome everybody, whether you're a Rovers fan, a neutral journalist. It was just dramatic, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think you can hear it in certainly myself and probably Chris on the commentary. I've always said that on commentary I try and be partial and not let it overcome me, but as I say, I think you can hear in the background, I think it's me cheering first and both me and Chris joining in with it, but you can't prepare for them sort of moments. I mean, it's just incredible how it happened, how it panned out. As Chris says, it was the tightest press box in the world. I felt by celebrating I was going to knock every bit of equipment everywhere. I thought there was a few in front of us. I thought they were going to get something to the back of their head just by celebrating and throwing things in the air. But as Chris has said, the pure emotion from a positive side was just incredible, and it's just something I think I'll struggle to see again.
You called it on air, Danny, about us being champions as well.
Yeah, it was a case of trying to explain it, because I know when Glenn got started he weren't going to stop, but no, I think the first thought was, I don't even know why, I mean after I'd cheered, the first thought was to look down and ask Chris to check on Bournemouth, because at that point we knew they weren't doing what they needed to do to be champions. Of course Rovers went into it, I believe, did they go into it knowing if they won they would be? So obviously the first thought was just to go, we're champions, and everyone else is still cheering at that point. I can't really remember why I went down that avenue. Chris,
you had a special job to do. Glenn touched on it on the commentary there. Just tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, well, I was given if you got an honour, to have the champions banner under my seat for the whole game, and I was sat there thinking, this is jinxed it. Why have we brought this in? Why have I got this under my seat? I just wanted to get it out and keep looking at it, but it was just in the back of my head. I was thinking, don't think about that banner, because I've got a feeling that it's just not going to happen and I'm not going to be able to use it, but fortunately we did.
There's a lot of superstition in football as well, and when we were setting off from the chemo the day before, we had it in the boot and we're like, shall we open it, unravel it? But we wasn't allowed to open it, were we? Because we thought we might jinx it.
No, there was a few of those. We had the plastic banner that I had under my seat, and then we had a few flags as well, thinking, shall we get them out and have photos? Shall we have a bit of a novelty photo with everyone in the team? But I thought, no, we can't jinx it. And then when I had it under my seat, I was thinking, this is the pressure I felt. I was just having this banner under my seat was immense. And as soon as I found out that we were champions, I grabbed it and ran down. And I think Billy Painter was the first one to just grab it off me.
That's it. I mean, we did plan for every scenario. You know, if we got promotion, we wanted to do pitch-side interviews for Rovers Player, etc., etc. You brought the banner, Chris, but you didn't bring the mic, did you? So you had to run back up to the press box with the microphone.
No, I think there's quite a funny video of me bringing the banner down, and I think you come over to me asking where the microphone is. But I had to sprint straight back across to Griffin Park pitch to go and get the microphone.
That's it. And the reason you needed the mic, because we did some pitch-side interviews amongst the chaos. We're just going to play a couple of them now. This is Tommy Spare and the chairman at the time, John Ryan.
We've done it. How do you feel? I can't talk, I can't believe it. I've never felt so disappointed and then happy in the same minute. Unbelievable, best feeling in my life.
What went through that moment then, just when it hit the bar?
Relief. I stood there thinking, that's it. And I just can't describe it. This is just brilliant, unbelievable. Like I say, it's the best feeling I've ever had in football.
Right, we've done it. How do you feel?
Wonderful. 4 promotions in 9 years and only 1 relegation. It's great to win the league as well. To get one of those gold medals for our players is fantastic. They worked the guts out today, and I thought we were going to be robbed right at the end. But I didn't see why he gave a penalty. But anyway, there we go. We had a bit of luck for once.
Had to finish on a away win, though, didn't it?
Well, 20. I think that's 15 away wins. Any team that does that deserves to get promotion. And I think overall we've been the best team in the league.
John Ryan there, and Tommy Spur being interviewed, called it the best feeling in football. Knowing John Ryan as a character, only he could question a penalty decision just after he'd won promotion. But you know, the promotion was for John. You know, he enjoyed it just as much as most supporters.
Yeah, you could hear it in the interview there. I mean, it's just interesting to listen back to, and you could hear the excitement in his voice and how happy he was. But at the same time, he still had time to sit there and think and actually go, well, 15 away wins, we deserve to go up, and for, you know, the amount of promotions and 1 relegation in however many years, yet everybody else, including myself, was still running around wondering what to do, and John Ryan was still calm enough but also excited enough. And as you say, he did deserve it. He was there for a long time, and I know there was other playoff wins. There was a playoff win against Leeds, but to do it in that sort of fashion, I can't imagine for himself there was much more satisfaction than that.
Yeah, he's always got a smile on his face, John Ryan. Do you think maybe he was a little bit more delighted because it was sort of his decision to do the Mackay experiment in the relegation season, Jordan?
Yeah, definitely. It was a bad year for Doncaster Rovers when the Mackay experiment took place, and there's no better way to come back than winning promotion the following season in the style that they did, and no one will be more delighted than John was to win the promotion.
One thing throughout the season, especially in the running, Chris, listening to Brian in his interviews, you know, he had that experience and that reassuring talk. You know, we lost a couple. I know we lost away to MK Dons, but just listening to his interviews, he sort of like calmed us and reassured us that promotion would happen, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that's just, as you mentioned there, his experience and his know-how in the game. Brian Flynn's been around the game for God knows how many years. He's been around forever, and as well, I just think it's his personality as well. He's just, you see him around the training ground now, he's just one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and one of the calmest men you'll ever meet. And when he got into his head that we were going to get promoted, he made sure we got promoted. He's not one of these managers who's going to go out and shout at his players and make sure they get promotion that way and like bully them into it. He's just going to let them do what he knows they can do. He's got Rob Jones at the side of him who knows the players well to lead them well, and he knows he's got the respect. Both of them have got the respect of the players, and when that happens, sometimes you maybe don't need the best players in the world. But I think Rovers proved that last season, because I think there was, in my opinion, even as a Rovers fan, there were a few, Brentford especially. I honestly think Brentford were a better team than us last season. But in terms of the talent they had at the squad, if you look at the players they had, such as Harry Forrester who's at Rovers now, but I think the togetherness that Brian Flynn and Rob Jones really did bring to the club, that did get us promoted in the end.
The pressure was on because Flynn had to come in and he had to win his promotion. That was the aim. No time to settle in. And I suppose that's where Rob Jones came in.
Yeah, just a slight touch on what Chris said. I think from minute one when Brian Flynn did come in, you sensed not much was going to change. You know, they didn't need to change anything. They sat top of the league. They were looking at automatic promotion as a real target. And I was initially surprised by how much everything almost stayed the same. But as you say, Chris, just the calmness of the man, even after a defeat. I mean, he sometimes took a while to come out to talk to press after there was a bad performance, but obviously by the time he got to the media, he was just so calm, so collected, and just got them going again. If they had a defeat under Brian Flynn, you always sense, no matter who they had next, it'd come out and be a different performance.
Yep, so after the game, the madness of the celebrations calmed down. Brian Flynn got soaked in the dressing room. He come out and talked to the media. This interview was with Andy Giddings from Radio Sheffield.
Well, many congratulations. Have you ever experienced a minute's worth of football quite like that?
So close, wasn't it? So close, and yet all credit to the lads. It was a monumental effort, and Brentford are a good side, really tested us to the limit, and thankfully it came right in the end.
Did you think that the chance had gone right at the day?
Well, you've got to believe that, haven't you? a penalty in extra time. You know, I think it was the second or third minute of extra time we get a penalty, and you fear for the worst, but thankfully it's turned out brilliant, and young James has got the goal, it's taken us up. Great for him. Great for James Coppinger, who's been a big part of this club.
Seems fitting because he's been here for such a long time.
Yeah, very much so, delighted. Yeah, he nearly miscontrolled it as well, didn't he? But it was a beautiful game this, and crazy at times.
How do you feel?
I can't believe it, to be honest. Especially when they got the penalty, I thought that was it, we're in the playoffs, and then within 10 seconds we were attacking, and to get the goal was brilliant.
Yeah, when it went in, what were you feeling when that goal went in?
Oh, honestly, I mean, I can't even describe it. Words can't describe it. Obviously, to get the goal and to celebrate in front of the fans have been brilliant all season. The lads have been amazing, worked so hard and deserve everything that comes their way.
James Coppinger there, you know, ever so influential player at Rovers, you know, and it was fitting that he got the goal, Jordan, wasn't it?
Yeah, if he wasn't already a legend, he is now, because, you know, don't get any better than that for a Rovers player, and the fans will remember that moment forever.
James Coppinger were involved in the team in the Carling Cup run, I believe, in 2004, so, you know, he's been completely committed to the club, and ultimately it was his goal that won us the League One title. Come to you, Chris. Coppinger's always been an influential player. Like, look at the playoff semi-final when he scored the hat-trick.
Yeah, I remember watching that back on TV because, annoyingly, that was the only game I missed that season. I went to every game that season other than the home leg of the playoff semi-final. I remember getting back. I'd been to my school prom and came back early to watch it on. I think we'd record it at my friend's house and watch it on TV. And it's possibly one of the best hat-tricks I've ever seen in terms of just the quality of the goals he scored. And he's just done that throughout his whole Rovers career. His first season here, he was getting questioned a little bit for his end products. I don't think he scored in his first season, but since then he's been one of the most creative players I've seen at the club, and he's just one of them players who can create something out of nothing, and he clearly loves the club. He's been here 10 years now, and the fans love him, and he loves the fans, and everything about him is Doncaster Rovers now, and it was only right that he got the goal.
Yep, and rightly Brian Flynn paying tribute to him there. We've got a bit more from his interview after the Brentford game now.
It's been a situation where you've gone up as champions to get that little bit of extra crowning glory right at the end because of Bournemouth stopping points at Tranmere. That just must mean so much more.
Well, to go up as champions, to be promoted is a big thing, but to go up as number one, that's what the chairman wanted, and thankfully we've given it to him.
What's it meant to you and the players to celebrate in front of 1,800 there? All the shirts are flying off into the stand. You've got drenched. What's that all been like?
We've got to enjoy the moment, I must admit. Enjoy what's happened and then build on this for next season. That's the important thing, and I'm sure it will be done.
It's going to be hard to improve on the memory of today, isn't it? That's a career-defining one for a lot of people.
And to come back from relegation and nearly disaster last year, because every relegation is a disaster, and it could have been difficult, but all credit to Dean Saunders, Brian Carey and the staff, who've built a really good squad. Between us, we've built a really good squad, and that showed today.
And how nervy an ending was that for you today? How incredible was it?
Crazy. Probably one word that describes that last minute, crazy. But that's the way football is. Sometimes the unexpected can happen, and it will certainly happen today.
That Saturday and Sunday night was crazy. We had the end of season dinner the day after, guys, and I know Maz and myself were working around the clock to edit the footage, 24-hour turnaround there to prepare for the big screens. But it wasn't until Monday that we actually got the hands on the League One trophy. But there we go. Rob Jones enjoyed it nevertheless on the Monday morning, and they had the bus parade as well there. So that's the 2012-2013 season. Let's turn our attention to the current season. It was decided that Brian Flynn wasn't going to continue as manager, and a new one was to be appointed. I know a press conference was called, and the announcement of the new manager was imminent. Rumours of Michael Appleton there, but eventually it was Paul Dickoff that was announced as the manager, Danny. And it was a bit of a mixed reaction from the fans as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody was really too sure what was, who was going to be coming in. I remember, as you say, Michael Appleton and Paul Dickoff. Even myself and even the media team knew it may be one of them two at the time, but weren't 100% which one it was going to be. And at that point, no one really. I think everybody wondered whether those were the right sort of names they wanted at that point, because if they're not going to keep someone with the experience of Brian Flynn on, were they going to go for someone else experienced, but maybe someone who's been in the Championship before? So to maybe to go for someone that's managed in League One at Oldham and albeit had his hands tied a lot of the time and struggled on tight budgets, was a bit of a surprise for fans.
Yeah, do you think the criticism was a little bit harsh, Jordan?
Yeah, perhaps. He did have his hands tied at Oldham, as Danny said, and they went on a good run in the FA Cup, and I think he did as much at Oldham that he could possibly do and possibly achieve. Maybe the reaction at the start was a bit harsh.
I know for certain I didn't really know who to expect we were getting. I remember when we got Sean O'Driscoll and everyone was like, Sean who? Because a lot of people, the names then that were mentioned were people like Kevin Keegan, things like that. But I think this time we got promoted, and it's weird. It's a weird situation to be in where you win promotion, then need to bring a manager in.
Yeah.
Especially if you haven't lost your manager to a bigger club. It's sort of, we didn't sack Brian Flynn, but it was more of he was just there on an interim basis, so to speak. And I don't really feel fans had a favourite in terms of we want this big name or we want this manager here. There was many fans wanted certain managers from elsewhere, and I think Paul Dickoff he's proven at the minute that he's the right choice. I know the league table isn't looking great at the minute, but I think he is the right choice. You mentioned there his time at Oldham, and having his hands tied behind his back is probably a bit of an understatement there. I think he had his backroom staff sacked. He had to do pretty much everything at the club on a day-to-day basis on his own, and he still managed to beat Liverpool in the FA Cup. So he's clearly a manager with great potential, and he's proven that here with the signings he's brought in and the contacts he's brought to the club as well.
That's it. He's certainly a well-experienced football person as well. So, Dickoff was appointed, and one of his first move was to bring in some new signings. In August, we was involved in one of the biggest news stories around the world. One Direction member, Louis Tomlinson, signed for Rovers on a professional contract. I'll come to you, Jordan, because we know this is your area of expertise. It was obviously a PR stunt as much as anything, but he also does a lot of it was for charity as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Louis Tomlinson, his personal charity, the Bluebell Wood Hospice. He's come down. They've arranged the friendly. Unfortunately, he couldn't play.
Yep.
Due to an injury which was caused by Gabi Abraham in a charity match the week before. But yeah, it's all the proceeds went to charity, and it's raising money for a really, really good cause, and I think it's great that both Louis Tomlinson and Doncaster Rovers can help out together to raise money for such a good charity.
That's it. I know the shirts are flying off the club shop shelves with Tomlinson 28 on the back. Chris, testing your knowledge here, who was the last Rovers player to wear the number 28?
Well, assuming as it's a special number, I assume it's the one John Ryan wore as he came on against Hereford in 2003, was it? The season we got promoted, when he came on the last game of the season. So it's a pretty special number.
Well, he was meant to be involved in the Scunthorpe reserve game. He brought a crowd of, I think, about 6,000. So that's good. Hopefully, as the season progresses, we can involve him again, and we can raise some money for Bluebell Wood. Going on then into the season, it brings us around to November. A soaking wet day at Oakwell for Barnsley away, and I think the miserable weather reflected the mood, because that was the day that John Ryan resigned as chairman of Doncaster Rovers. I believe it came out in the aftermath that he handed it in writing 3 minutes before kick-off. It was a sad day for Doncaster Rovers, wasn't it, the day that John Ryan stepped down?
Yeah, it was a sad day and a bit of a surprise. I don't think too many people saw it coming, to be honest. And John did great things for this club, and as he touched upon in his interview earlier, he's had four promotions in 9 seasons and just 1 relegation. So don't get much better from a chairman's point of view. So yeah, it was a really sad day when he stepped down.
15 years has brought great success to this club, Chris.
Yeah, and some of the best days of many Rovers fans' lives, especially the ones of the younger fans like myself, who have only been going for pretty much his whole tenureship. And you can't beat a cup final and things like that, and he has backed his managers throughout his time here. And I suppose credit has to go as well to Terry Bramwell and Dick Watson as well for he brought them in. And
yeah, of course, because he brought them in.
He's brought them to win, and in the last 10 years, especially since getting back into the league, have been fantastic. And who can forget the day at Cardiff when we won the Johnson's Paint Trophy? So that was the second to last one of his promises that he brought to the club. And he won a major trophy, and then finally got us back into the second tier of English football for the first time in 50 years in 2008.
Just to go back on something you said there, he said he brought the 3 or 4 promises, you know. In essence, with that job done, he got to the Championship, he got us out of the conference and won us the Cup.
I think yes and no. I think obviously he did job done in terms of his promises. He got us to the new stadium here at the Keepmoat.
Yeah.
He got us back into the Football League, and then he got us into the Championship and won a major trophy as well. But then once he did that, John Ryan's not that sort of man who will just give up in terms of he's done his job now and he will, and that's it. But he's the most ambitious man I've ever met, and he's always just looking to the sky for Doncaster Rovers.
And a great character as well. There's never a dull day at Doncaster Rovers, and 2013 certainly didn't disappoint. That brings us right up to present day. Thank you for tuning in to this special edition of Rovers Player. From myself, Darren Neagle, it's thank you to Chris, Danny and Jordan, and we'll pass you over to the live action now of Loftus Road with the Rovers Player.